Welcome back to part 2 of a 12-part episode 1 series. Thanks for clicking on this next video. And you're getting to check out the Bellarmine Knights in this video. Dad, let's get right into it with their starting 5. You've got Desmond McKinney, who played last year, coming over from NDSU. He played last year for Bellarmine as well. Contributed off the bench. Ben Johnson, also an ASUN preseason team member. Then Billy Smith, a good contributor off the bench that came from Miami, Ohio the year before. Jack Karazinski's a new face this year. He's from William and Mary. He actually started 8 of the first 9 games that he played for them last year. Struggled from 3, and which was something he was much better at in his freshman year. And then he ended up being hurt for the rest of the season. But he's a solid wing player that's going to come over for them, more of a forward than a guard. And then you get Kurt Hoff back, which, Dad, no bias here, but I think that's the best name in all of the ASUN, Kurt Hoff. No bias at all. But he's coming back. He is a redshirt junior, redshirted all of last season because he was hurt. He did win he was on the ASUN freshman team in his first year at Bellarmine, so you get a solid presence back at center there. Dad, the concern for me this year with Bellarmine is that outside of Ben Johnson and probably Kurt Hoff, depending on how he's looking when he comes back, because he was held out of the preseason or the exhibition game that they had as well, but it was stated that he should be ready to go for the season. Is that this team really doesn't have much scoring depth behind them, right? And everyone's kind of unproven as a starter. I mean, I mentioned Karazinski, but he kind of played himself out of a position or out of that starting lineup at William and Mary. And there is another guy that could contribute off the bench, and I think it's also going to be similar to Austin P, as you might have checked out in our first video. If not, go check that out. It's going to be a rotating 4. I think Karazinski and Dylan Branson, who's a smaller 4 and more of a wing player as well, but he really proved to be gritty on the rebounding end of things. He's coming over from the SEMO Hawks, who, as we know, ended up going on a championship run in their conference and then making the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, and he was a part of that team. He was a big part of that as far as the rebounding aspect went. But as far as that, other than that, this team just doesn't have depth for me. I don't know about you.
Right, you have Tyler Doyle as well, right? Freshman coming in. He comes in with some pretty good offensive accolades. He's the walking bucket, right?
Yes, that is true.
Noted as such. So what could he bring? He might be able to bring some spark there. But right, you're talking about a Bellarmine team that last year was last in the conference in points scored by a decent margin, right? And they also had a couple of their stats from last year. Lowest free throws attempted for any team per game, by quite a bit of margin. So where are they going to get their scoring from? And again, as you look at the other teams as we get into the rest of the reviews here, the previews, you'll see that there's a lot of other talent as infused in from other conferences, from junior colleges as well. Has Bellarmine kept up with that? To me, that's a big question mark as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, one thing to mention about Tyler Doyle is that he was a 60% shooter from the field in not just a 50% shooter, because 50, 40, 90 is kind of that unbelievable stat. So he was 60 and he shot 44% from 3, or actually 45 if you round up.
45% from 3. Exactly.
So yes, Tyler Doyle should contribute a lot. I'm looking for Landon Hacker as well, another backup guard that they have. He's got to take a up year. He kind of fell back a little bit last year compared to his freshman season. So Landon Hacker hopefully can have a little bit of a better year. But yeah, this team's not deep at all. They did get Miles Watkins from Pasadena, which is in the California Community Colleges Athletic Association. You might never have heard of that before, but it's a community college association out in California that is made up of a lot of LA teams mostly. But he won the best athlete for his entire school after being a redshirt a year before, and or I'm sorry, not a year before, 2 years before. But the coach for Pasadena had a lot of really good things to say about Miles. My issue, since I just spoke about coaching Dad, which was a big part of your life for a while before you ended up moving, is with Scott Davenport. Obviously, this team was really good when they first got into the A-Sun, which is not typical for a team moving up from D2 to D1. They ended up winning the championship their second year, but then the past 2 years they've been down. I'm concerned that Scott Davenport's no dribble, pass the ball style of coaching has been figured out how to stop at the D1 level, and he's an older guy. Everything that I saw on the recruiting pages about each of these players, a lot of it talked about how he said, like, you know, they were raised right, their parents did a really good job, which is great. That's awesome that you have good guys on your team. But are you recruiting the right players? Are you recruiting skilled enough players to compete in this league? And that's what I'm not sure about with Bellarmine. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on that?
I mean, not that just because he's older doesn't mean he's not doing his job, but I do kind of wonder with his son Doug also on the staff, is he kind of working the team to set up for a transition, to after the season or whenever, and maybe that could also be hurting recruiting as well. When when there's an unknown or maybe a question mark about how long your coach is going to be there. So, I'm just aligning things and making an assumptions, of course, but I think it's a scenario where maybe fresh blood might be a good thing for the team at the coaching staff just to move it forward. But again, we never know. Like you said, they did win the Sun Championship their first year tournament.
Second year
they were in. So second place, right? So can they do it? Sure, absolutely. It's going to take a lot of effort, though. So, but yeah, it kind of looks to me like it's sort of a rebuild or pre-rebuild program in my mind. One senior on the team, one sophomore on the team. So there's kind of a big range of or disparity of talent. Obviously, you'd like to lean on seniors their last year, or even fifth years, or even graduate students, 6th-year players too. And a lot of schools have that, right? We're one senior on the team this year that just it's a totally different mindset in my mind about what or makeup of what this team is compared to the others in the conference.
Yes, I agree with you there. So where are they finishing then? Where is it? You said it's a rebuilding year. What place towards the bottom are they?
Pre-rebuild is what I think. What I'm thinking. Pre-rebuild, exactly.
Because you do have Ben Johnson. Yeah, so Ben's gonna make you compete each night.
Exactly. I put him 11th out of 12. I mean, we'll see where it ends up, but I don't see them competing for much, unfortunately, for the club this year. How about yourself? Where you got them at?
Yeah, I actually have them in dead last, which might be surprising when you see who's in this conference this year. Continue to watch and find out. But yeah, I have them dead last. I just don't think they're clearly not as offensively talented as other teams in the league. And when you're like that, you need to be really defensively talented. And I think they brought in a lot of decent two-way players, but not in a lot of great two-way players. And there's other teams in the league that are in a similar situation that did, in my opinion, bring in good defensive players. So
exactly.
For that reason, I have them as 12.
Great. For that reason, I'm out.
Exactly. Shark Tank, I buzzed as soon as Bellarmine walked in the room.
That's right. Well, we hope the best for him, of course.
Absolutely. We're not wishing a downfall on anyone. This is just a hopefully accurate basketball prediction.
That's right.
And you spoke about relying on seniors. We'll talk about another team that's going to struggle to do that next here on part 3 of episode 1 of Acker Basketball. Check that out. Until then, have a good one.